One of the biggest causes of bankruptcy in America is medical bills. That's partly because medical expenses can come at the most unexpected of times. Good morning and welcome to Maryland Today. My name is Jeff St. Pierre. Today we're going to get some advice on the best ways to weather those unexpected medical costs and how to make sure you're prepared for the worst. Joining me today is Nina Heck. She's the Advocacy Director and Assistant to the President of Guidewell Financial Solutions. Nina, great to see you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Well, Nina, many of us worry about how we would cope if we were faced with overwhelming medical expenses from maybe an accident or a serious health condition. So today we're going to take a look at how to survive that situation financially. But before we do, Nina, just how justified are these fears that we may have?
Well, possibly very justified, Jeff, in that, medical expenses is probably one of the leading causes of people filing bankruptcy. There was an article published in the New York Times by the Kaiser Family Foundation that showed about a quarter of the population, ages 18 to 64, actually was in a position where they couldn't meet the payments on medical bills, or a family member, and possibly even had the inability to pay at all in the last 12 months. It also showed in the study that there were several groups that also reported these specifically to credit reports. And then I think the thing that people need to understand is that this really hits most Americans, and people in all walks of life have problems, dealing with medical expenses. So
why do you think medical expenses are such a major source of financial turmoil for so many of us?
Well, number one, they're unpredictable.
Yeah.
You combine, say, stagnant wages and high cost of living expenses, and it puts people in positions that's been living paycheck to paycheck. Then they're hit with these medical bills that have insurmountable repercussions to their budget. People find themselves trying to decide, do I pay the medical bill? Do I keep a roof over my head? Pay the child care? What exactly is it that I need to pay? And our financial problems may also be compounded by stressors such as underinsurance, culture and language barriers, as well as just access to proper health care.
Well, I know Guidewell Financial Solutions helps people learn to budget and deal with their debts. How often do you encounter people who are struggling to survive as they pay off these maybe unexpected medical expenses?
It's actually, one of the top reasons that people contact us is because they found themselves owing medical expenses. Oftentimes, by the time they reach us, they may have had reduced income due to their loss of time at work. They've dipped into their savings account. They're trying to pay household bills or even the medical bills with their savings, and even credit cards, using the credit cards for their expenses or their medical bills, which is really a bad option because medical bills are non-interest bearing, and now you're putting them on a credit card that's going to bear interest.
Yeah. So how can listeners avoid this scenario?
Jeff, I like to think it's a two-pronged approach. They start with the setting up a financial survival plan and also being very proactive and not just sitting back and letting things happen as far as their health. So taking both of these steps really helps to relieve the financial burdens and emotional strains that can come when you have unexpected medical expenses.
Why don't we take a deeper look at both of these practices here? Let's start first with how we can develop a practical financial plan.
We talk about this every time I come. Start by setting up and sticking with your budget, live within your means. These are just so important. It puts you in a better position when things happen. Also review what type of current financial resources are available. How much do you have? How much would you have available to offer someone should you end up with medical expenses without putting a hardship on your budget? And then do you actually have an emergency savings set up? Because if you don't, this is something you really need to work towards.
As you just mentioned, when you do visit here, we talk about the importance of making that budget. But say that I've never really put together a spending plan before, or I just need help getting my finances under control. How can Guidewell Financial help me out?
So we provide free, confidential budget and credit counseling to help people set up and actually tighten their budget as well. All of our counselors are certified. We have local offices that they can come into, or we can do this by the telephone. So your listeners can actually contact us at 1-800-642-2227. And we have a lot of information on our website at guidewellfs.org that pertains to budget counseling and our other services.
Can you give that information one more time just in case somebody was listening but wasn't prepared to write down a phone number or a website?
Sure. Our phone number is 1-800-642-2227, and our website is guidewellfs.org.
So I think just about everybody listening right now recognizes the value of saving. We'd all like to save money, but I think we've all also been in that position in our lives at least once where you're living paycheck to paycheck. You don't really have a lot of money coming in that's extra that you can save. If you're in that situation, what can you do?
When you look at saving, there's always areas that people can cut back, even people that are on limited incomes. I think one of the good examples that we've talked about before is, just stopping in the morning and purchasing coffees.
Oh, sure.
So you can spend $5 purchasing a coffee. You multiply that times 5 days, multiply it out over a year. You're talking about $1,300.
Slow down. I got to carry the one.
Carry a one. So, right away, here's $1,300 that you could have set aside. Another really great resource that I always stress to people is when you get your paycheck, have them take out money towards your savings. Pay yourself first. If that check goes in automatically, you set some over to savings, you have what you need in checking to take care of your own expenses. And in that way, that money's there when you have these emergencies. We also have, the financial coaching program that I've spoke of that really helps people achieve goals. They'll do these brainstorming strategies to help them stay on top of whatever goal it is they're trying to achieve.
Okay, so we've been taking a look at some ways to get in better financial shape so we're better prepared to weather an unexpected storm should it come our way. But how can proactive health choices also work in our favor?
Healthy choices such as not smoking, regular exercise, healthy eating habits are always better for us, in the long run.
Sure.
What we're trying to do is to help save money. And, obviously these habits are costly, but even given that, healthy people become sick. So one of the things that I always suggest that people take advantage of is many of our insurances, Medicare, Medicaid, offer like screenings, and you can get an annual physical that also offers blood work, and that early intervention in the event that there's something there is always going to be less costly. And of course, the earlier that you can detect something, then you're also having less stress than finding out something after the fact.
Well, we've used the word unexpected a lot today, and that's what a lot of these illnesses are. I mean, we always hear those stories about the people that run every day and they eat healthy and then they drop dead from something completely unknown. You never saw it coming. So say disaster does strike. You're in an accident, you develop a serious health condition, whatever it may be. From a financial perspective, what else can you do here?
So you want to reach out. There's a lot of information and a lot of providers through these health services have options such as social workers. There's also financial counselors that are placed in many of the hospitals these days. So there are options out there that can help a person that finds themselves in a position not to be able to pay. Being honest with what you have and making sure that you communicate it to these social workers is also vital in order for you to get the right help. When it comes to insurances, make sure that you're proactive. You understand what the treatment plans are, what your prescription coverage involves. If you have questions, reach out to the insurance companies. Always better to do it before something happens rather than after the fact.
Oh, sure.
And then, if you get a denial in the mail from an insurance claim, don't just sit back and say, okay, I guess I have to pay this. Studies show that if you actually go in and dispute those, you have a better chance of the claim being processed.
So what if I do everything you've suggested and I'm as prepared as I can possibly be, but the medical bills continue to grow beyond my financial means?
So when medical bills loom, it's very easy to become really overwhelmed. One of the things that I'm always going to say to your listeners is don't pull out the credit cards, don't initiate payday lending applications, because this can really make things much worse. Instead, pay attention to your budget, look for reputable help. Again, I spoke earlier about, social workers and different organizations within the healthcare that can help you. Many times people just think bankruptcy when they start to get in trouble. But we have a debt management program that could be, really a useful tool for them. The program allows them to be, again, counseled by a certified counselor. They're looking at a budget. They're setting up a payment arrangement with those creditors and maybe these medical bills where they send in one payment to us. We disperse those monies out, pay those creditors that are enrolled. And this makes it much easier because it's often at a reduced amount, so it leaves them more money in their budget to pay the other expenses that they have. There's also a benefit because once they make typically 3 payments, many of these creditors will reduce their interest rates, and if they've incurred later over the limit fees, they will, in most cases, take that off. So that can help as well.
Well, that's great. Well, when medical debts lead to financial instability, it also causes other things in the family, maybe emotional stress. I understand it also affects consumer credit scores as well. How common of a problem is this?
Actually, Jeff, many consumers see their credit scores plummet as a result of these debts ending up on their credit report. And according to a study by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, some 43 million Americans are currently in that position. However, a third of those had flawless credit prior to this happening. So the good news is that the three major credit reporting agencies, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, do recognize these recent changes and have adjusted how these are being reported.
Well, that's really good to know. Exactly how have credit bureau policies on medical debt changed, though?
Now consumers have a full 180 days to give them a chance to pay the bills prior to these going onto their credit report. And that's very important because oftentimes if they have a serious accident or long-term health issues that leads to long-term treatment, these bills come in over a period of time. And so they need a chance to not only come through, but see what the insurances are going to play. Sometimes people have dual insurances, so it needs to be able to filter through to see what the real outcome is. When the bills are paid in full, they will be pulled off of the credit report.
Well, I hear that FICO has also realized that medical expenses should be treated differently, and this realization is reflected in their newest credit score model. How is medical debt handled into this new credit scoring formula?
So the new credit score model is FICO 9. And what it does is it treats the debts differently from non-traditional medical bills versus medical debt. The change was based on the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau study, and again, it showed that 1/3 of consumers otherwise had perfect credit. So even though this seems really positive, I think the consumers need to understand, Jeff, that FICO 9 is not as widely used as FICO 8.
Okay.
Another suggestion I always try to leave your listeners with is, to take advantage of pulling one free copy of their credit reports through annualcreditreport.com. That will give them either Equifax, TransUnion, or Experian, and they can certainly pull them all or pull one at a time.
If FICO 9 is a little bit better for consumers than FICO 8, why are credit providers still using the old scoring system?
So it's a couple of reasons. For starts, it's very expensive for banks and lenders to have to change their underwriting processes. And of course, before they adopt these changes, they always want to do substantial testing, and that takes time and money. Many of the lenders are really not unhappy with FICO 8. They have that theory, if it's working, why fix it? So for consumers who still would like to see their FICO 9, they can go to myfico.com and they can request that score. There will be a small fee involved, though.
Okay. Well, while consumers wait out the credit score transition, do you have any parting advice for us?
So no matter which credit scoring system's being used, your money management habits are always the most important. It makes sense for all of us to live within our means, pay our bills on time, keep our credit usage as low as possible. And then certainly if you have questions concerning medical bills, credit, trying to rebuild your rating, give us a call at Guidewell Financial Solutions. And again, you can reach us at 1-800-642-2227. Our website also offers a lot of free online courses about budgeting, money management, and personal finance topics. So you can go to our website again at guidewellfs.org and look at the education section.
I'm going to have you give me that information one more time, the phone number and the website, please.
Sure, Jeff. Our phone number is 1-800-642-2227, and our website is guidewellfs.org.
Nina Heck, Advocacy Director and Assistant to the President at Guidewell Financial Solutions. Thank you so much for coming by, telling us more about this. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeff.